Have you ever considered that the loudest sound in the universe isn't an explosion, but the silence of a good man who has stopped trying? We're often taught that a man's strength is his stability, his ability to endure, like a great mountain shielding a valley from storms. His presence becomes so constant, so dependable, that it becomes invisible. He's the one who quietly remembers how you take your coffee, the one who notices the tension in your shoulders after a long day. He is the silent architect of your daily peace. Like the air we breathe, we only recognize its value when we begin to suffocate. Imagine the village nestled in the mountain shadow. Its people live in peace, never worrying about the fierce winds, because the mountain has always been there, silently taking the beating. To them, the mountain is simply part of the landscape. A given, a good man is that mountain. He absorbs chaos and provides stability. But there is a truth few ever speak of. Even a mountain has its limits. It, too, erodes, not from a single storm, but from centuries of being taken for granted. And here is the challenge to our beliefs. A man's true strength lies not in endless endurance. His true strength lies in the wisdom to know when to protect his own inner ecosystem. When he realizes the valley no longer sees him, he doesn't crumble. He simply reclaims his energy. So ask yourself this. You, as a man, how many storms have you silently weathered believing your strength was infinite? And what would happen if you realized that protecting your own peace isn't selfish, but essential? His silence is not the end. It is the beginning of a journey deep within. A journey we will explore in the next level of awareness. The language of stillness. Part 2. The language of stillness. When a good man chooses silence, the outside world often misinterprets it. They assume it's anger, that it's punishment. But they are mistaken. His silence is not an empty space. It is a sacred space, like a high mountain lake, perfectly still and clear, reflecting the sky with absolute truth. Deeper, storytelling tone. There is a Zen story about a master and his student. The student constantly asked questions. The master simply sat, smiled, and remained silent. Finally, in exhaustion, the student stopped asking, and just sat, and it was in that shared silence that the answer revealed itself. A good man's silence works in the same way. It is the highest form of communication when words have lost their value. He has spoken. He has explained. He has tried. But when it all bounced off a wall of indifference, silence became the only answer left. This is the law of energetic echo. You constantly send out your energy. If it's returned, there is resonance. But if it's continuously absorbed into a void, your natural instinct tells you to stop sending it out to preserve your life force. His silence is that act of energy preservation. It's a sacred boundary, a declaration that says, "My energy is precious." This is not arrogance. This is self-respect. Take a moment to reflect on this. Take a deep breath and listen. Your own silence right now, what is it trying to tell you? This retreat is not born from apathy, but from exhaustion. The exhaustion of a diligent gardener trying to cultivate barren land. And that is the third stage of our discovery. Part 3, the gardener and the barren land. Picture a good man as a gardener. His love is not just a feeling. It's an action. He doesn't just give flowers. He cultivates an entire garden. When he pulls a blanket over you when you've fallen asleep on the couch, that's him watering the garden. When he listens to your worries even though he's exhausted, that's him pulling the weeds. This work is quiet and dedicated. He doesn't boast. He simply does it. But what happens if the land is barren? If it refuses to absorb water, the gardener might try for a while. He does it out of hope, because he sees the land for its potential. But here is a hard truth. You cannot want a garden to grow more than the soil itself wants to. When a good man's efforts are consistently overlooked, a subtle shift begins. He doesn't suddenly leave. No. First, he stops planting new seeds. Then, he waters less frequently. He does this not out of hatred. He does it because his heart is tired. The exhaustion of loving is one of the loneliest feelings in the world. It's when you realize you are the only one trying to keep the garden alive. The question for you to reflect on is, are you cultivating your garden, or are you trying to revive a desert? Be honest with yourself. When is it time to accept the truth of the soil? When the gardener realizes this, he doesn't get angry. He quietly gathers his tools. His departure is not an act of abandonment, but an act of following his own internal compass. And that compass always points in one direction, toward peace. Part 4. The inner compass and the outer map. The greatest navigators didn't rely only on maps. They relied on the stars, the ocean currents, and their inner compass. The outer map can tell you where other people have gone, but only the inner compass can tell you where you are truly meant to go. Perhaps you yourself have lived your life by a map drawn by others. The map of societal expectations, of family responsibilities. You navigate your life based on destinations set by someone else, believing that's where happiness is. But when the garden no longer grows, you realize a terrifying truth. You've been going in the wrong direction. The map has led you to a place where your soul does not belong. It is at this moment, in the silence, that you finally listen to the voice of your inner compass. That compass points in one fundamental direction: peace. And here is a truth that might be uncomfortable. A good man's decision to leave is not giving up. It is the bravest act of following the calling of his own soul. He is not running away from the relationship. He is running toward himself. He realizes he cannot be a mountain for anyone else if his own foundation is crumbling. Stoic philosophy teaches us that protecting one's inner peace is not selfish. It is our highest responsibility. So the question for you now is, where is your compass pointing? Toward the approval of others or toward your own peace? And do you have the courage to trust it? Following this compass often requires us to confront the invisible chains passed down through generations. And that is the 5th level of awareness. Part 5. Breaking the generational chain. Imagine an iron chain, passed from father to son, generation after generation. Each link is a silent belief. Men must be strong. Don't complain. Emotions are weakness. More personal, sincere tone. I saw that chain on my father. A good man who worked tirelessly, silently enduring a loveless marriage, believing it was strength. He carried the weight of the entire family on his shoulders without a word of complaint. As a boy, I admired him, and then I grew up, and I found myself holding that very same chain. I found myself staying silent in relationships, tolerating indifference, repeating my father's pattern. It was an emotional inheritance. Modern psychology calls this intergenerational trauma. We inherit our unhealed wounds. When a good man decides to leave, he isn't just saving himself. He is doing something far greater. He is breaking the chain. He is standing before the spirit of his father and saying, "I'm sorry, but this weight stops with me. I will not pass it on to the next generation." This is a revolutionary act. It requires extraordinary courage. This is not betrayal. This is purification of a legacy. Now just pause for a moment. What emotional weight are you carrying that is not yours? To whom does it belong? And how would you feel in this very moment if you decided to set it down? Setting that weight down doesn't mean the pain vanishes. On the contrary, it is when we must finally face it, not as a victim but as an alchemist. Part 6. The Alchemist of Pain. The ancient alchemists did not seek to destroy lead. They sought to transform it into gold. They understood that transformation requires intense heat and pressure. Pain, loss. This is the lead in our lives. And a good man's departure is the moment he steps into his own furnace. Society teaches men 2 ways to deal with pain: ignore it or be consumed by it. But there is a third path, the path of the alchemist, to face it, embrace it, and transform it. In the furnace of solitude, the pain burns away everything that is not essential: the ego, the pride, the need for validation. What remains after that fire is the purest thing of all, your truth. It is in this process that he learns his most valuable lessons. He learns that true strength is not never falling, but the ability to pick yourself back up. He learns that scars aren't signs of weakness, but maps that tell the story of a survivor. Pain becomes his greatest teacher. Ask yourself this question. This pain, the one you are feeling, what is it trying to teach you about yourself? That comfort never could? When the alchemical process is complete, when the lead has turned to gold, the man no longer seeks happiness from the outside. He has found it within. This is the final destination of the journey. Part 7. The Return to Self and the Call to Live. The journey we have walked is not a story about an end. It is the story of the birth of an authentic man. When a good man returns to his true self, he is no longer defined by anyone's approval. His peace is no longer dependent on circumstances. His love is no longer an effort to fill a void, but an overflow from a heart that is already whole. He is still a good man, but now his goodness comes from an endless wellspring of inner strength. And this is the final lesson. The goal of life is not to be a good man in the eyes of others. The goal is to be a man who is true to himself. To close, I want to invite you to do an exercise. This isn't just relaxation. This is an act of reclaiming your inner territory. Practical exercise. The mountain's breath. Find a quiet place and sit with a straight, dignified posture. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in, imagining you are drawing energy up from the core of the earth. Exhale slowly, releasing all tension, all burdens. Now imagine that you are a mountain, stable and unchanging. Everything around you can shift. Clouds drift by, winds howl, storms come. But you, the mountain, remain. Still. Emotions, thoughts, the words of others are just clouds passing over your peak. They are not you. Sit in that stillness for a few minutes, feeling the strength and peace that resides inside of you. This journey doesn't end here. It begins with your next breath. It continues in every choice you make to honor your inner compass. Live a life with intention. A life worth telling. And if this story resonated with your soul, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with a brother, a friend, another man who needs to hear that he is not alone, and that choosing his own peace is the ultimate act of strength. Thank you for walking this journey with me.